Let me see here. Testing. Let me make sure this is working. All right, it's working. Okay, we're gonna give it 1 second before we start. Make sure this is working right. All right, Shalom Israel. I want to say Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Barakathum, Yahweh Shema Latham Bashem Yahweh Shai. First and foremost, I want to big up the brothers down there in Texas, man, doing amazing work, man. Commander General Yohana feeding Israel. You understand what I'm saying? Supporting our Levite brothers and sisters who are, heavily oppressed. You understand, at the border. And Esau is showing his true colors again, showing why he is absolutely the devil that the Bible speaks of. Was that me? Okay. Okay, the water. Big ups to those brothers, man. Big ups to the Most High, Yahweh Shai, Commanding General Yohana, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Man, it's a wonderful time to be in the ISUPK, man. That man, that was heavy. All that whole get down was heavy. You understand? Just reassures that this is definitely the home of the truth. This is definitely the school of the prophets and the men of the Lord. You understand? We don't listen. Christ said, "You shall know them by their fruits." So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm sure. Hold on 1 second. All right. What's going on, your tab? I see you. All right. So, also, if you're watching the class, man, make sure to share it. You know what I mean? Share the class. Like and share the video. We also on YouTube on Hollywood Israelites. We're going into a lot of scriptures. We got a lot of scriptures for you tonight. I prepared a lesson that is what's going on, Shabal, sir. Shalom of Christ. So we're gonna touch on that, all right? So I wanted to touch on the history of the chosen line. As you can imagine, we're going to be talking about the chosen people of God. See, a lot of people don't know that truth. A lot of people believe that God loves everybody, that God, the God of the Bible, loves all nations, that, color doesn't matter and your race doesn't matter and things like that. Granted, color really doesn't matter. And I say that because you have Israelites that come in all shades and colors, all types of hair, textures, you see. But what's important to understand is that God does have a chosen people. We're going to go into the history of that chosen people. And we're going to go and touch on who's not chosen, who is chosen. We're going to touch on some names in history, some important names. Some you may have heard of, some you may be familiar with, some you may not be familiar with. We're going to touch on that. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. So first and foremost, to understand, right? Let's go to 2nd Esdras 6 and 54. Let's give foundation as to what we will be discussing. Okay. 2nd Esdras chapter 6 verse 54. 2nd Esdras 6 and 54. And it reads, "And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen." You see? So a lot of people like to argue, don't we all come from Adam? Shouldn't we all get along? We all come from Adam, right? But the problem is this. I'm not arguing the fact that we all come from Adam. I'm arguing the fact that there is a chosen people that come from Adam. When you read the Bible, precept upon precept, when you rightly divide the word of truth, there is one race of people on the planet Earth who just so happens to be God's chosen, which would make everyone outside of that chosen people not chosen. The Lord does not deal with them. You understand? I read it again, 2nd Esdras 6 and 54. "And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Most High, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam," right? The other people outside of the chosen people, who we will explain. "As for the other people, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel." You see, the Most High compared the other nations outside of the chosen nation as a drop that falleth from a bucket, meaning, or as spittle, meaning the debris of spit, meaning you don't even pay attention to those things. If you walking down the road with a bucket full of water, you're not going to backtrack and go back to the well where you retrieved water for the couple of drops you dropped. You understand what I'm saying? You don't even really pay attention to that. You pay more attention on the bucket of water. The chosen people is the bucket of water. You understand? The other nations are not even on the Most High's radar. You see? Now, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy. Also, if you have any questions throughout the class, feel free to type them in. I will address them accordingly. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8, and it reads, "When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam." See, everyone, since the beginning of time, everyone was not meant to be integrated. Everyone was separated by the Most High. Everyone was divided by the Most High. All nations. The Most High dealt and deals with nations of people. That's why there's a such thing as nations of people, right? Chinese, Japanese, Tongan, Samoan, Black, Hispanic, Native American, Puerto Rican, African, East Indian, Arab, Iranians or Iranians, you see, Europeans, Caucasians. There's different races in the world. That's a fact. But see, the truth is this: all nations on the earth have a biblical identity, and that is their true identity. That's their true identity. Is found in the Bible. For example, white people or Europeans or Caucasians, they're known as Esau. They come from a man by the name of Esau in the Bible. You learn the origins of the nations in the Bible. That's a fact. You learn where they come from, how can I put it? What their inheritance was, what land masses they controlled in ancient history. You learn all those things, right? So we read it again, Deuteronomy 32:8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Verse 9, for the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. See, the Lord's portion is his people, meaning everybody is not his people. Jacob is. Jacob being the father of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And really, that's enough proof right there. But we're going to go into the history. So let's go to Genesis chapter 9. I was asked some time ago, how is it that we all come from Adam when the flood happened? And I'll explain. The reason why we all come from Adam still, because through Adam came Noah. You understand? And through Noah, I'll read it right now. So after the flood, because man was being wicked, the Lord flooded the earth, you see? And now we at Genesis 9:18 after the waters began to decrease on land. They began to evaporate, so to speak. The waters began to diminish, and Noah and his 3 sons and with their wives are able to exit the ark. Where we at? Genesis 9:18, right? And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And of them was the whole earth overspread. And of them was the whole earth overspread. Now, I said it like that so to really drill in what we're focusing on. Now, everyone on the planet, every race, every nationality, every culture comes from one of the 3 sons of Noah. Everyone, whether you black, white, Chinese, East Indian, Arab, we all come from either Shem, Ham, or Japheth, or Japhet, popularly pronounced Japhet. So, Genesis 9:18 again, and the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. And when you read Genesis, the 10th chapter, it's also known as the, what's the name for it? The Table of Nations. A lot of historians and biblical scholars like to attribute Genesis chapter 10 to being the Table of Nations, because all nations come from one of those 3 men. Now, who does the chosen people come through? That's what we're going to focus on. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 22. Genesis chapter 10, verse 22. This is important history to understand. Once you come to the truth, you learn these laws, statutes, and commandments. And we're going to focus on why the law was given to the chosen people is because we're the chosen people. But we're going to go into the history. Let's go to Acts 3:13 really fast. Acts 3 and 13, right? Check this out. Acts chapter 3, verse 13. Let's take a look at what Peter said. Peter said this: the God of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob, the God of our fathers, hath glorified his son Yahushua, whom ye delivered up and denied him in the presence of Pilate when he was determined to let him go. Now, I really want to focus on Peter saying the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, the God of our fathers. Peter was very aware of the history of the Israelites. He was very aware of the history of the chosen line, which is why the Most High is attributed to being known as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Don't believe me? Let's go to Exodus. Let's go to Exodus. Chapter 3. Right? Exodus chapter 3, verse 15. And the Most High said moreover unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, the Lord power of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. Because the reason why God is known as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob is because he chose those men, beginning with Abraham, you see, to carry out his covenant, to carry out a role in the earth, a role in being the chosen seed line. You understand? Everyone does not come from Abraham. Everyone does not come from Isaac, and everyone does not come from Jacob. You understand? And you can't be a spiritual, you can't change your nationality spiritually. You see? I can't be a spiritual Filipino. It's impossible. I can't be I can't be that because I want to act like that. You see what I'm saying? I can't be African because, I want to wear dashikis. That doesn't make me African. The bloodline, the seed of my father makes me, determines who I am, determines what my race is, determines my culture, determines who my God is. You see? And God said that he's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So let's go into the history of that, right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 22. Genesis 10 and 22. 21. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Assur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram, the children of Aram, Uz, and Hol, and Gathar, and Mush, and Arphaxad begat Salah, and Salah begat Eber. Salah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided. And his brother's name was Joktan. You see? And we jump down to verse 31. These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, and their lands, after the nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah. When you read the whole chapter, Genesis chapter 10, it explains the sons of Ham, the sons of Japheth, and the sons of Shem. So in verse 32, in conclusion, it says, these are the families of the sons of Noah after the generations in their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. You see that? I just explained that fact. Go ahead, Swat. That's Genesis 10 and 32. No sweat. Genesis 10 and 32 describes that through Shem, Ham, and Japheth, all the nations the earth was repopulated through those men. Thus, every nation comes from either Shem, Ham, or Japheth. And we also look at Genesis 9 and 19, where it says, "These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread." You see? Now, from there, let's go to Genesis chapter 11, verse 10. Let me make sure it's everything is Tawab. Hold on 1 second. Also, y'all let me know if y'all can see and hear. Hold on. Hold on. Testing. If you can hear me and see me clearly, if you could, Baba Shah. Okay. No sweat. Now, where was we at? Now we at Genesis chapter 11, verse 10, right? So we're going to focus on Shem. I'll tell you, Japheth, those are your Pacific Islanders. From Japheth, you get your Tongans, you get your Samoans, you get your Hawaiians, your Polynesians. That's Japheth. He's the father of those nations. You see, from Ham you get the Africans, the African nations, such as the Canaanites, your South Africans, your West Africans, your East Africans, your Eritreans, your Cushites, your Ethiopians, your Babylonians, your Libyans, your Nigerians, your Igbos. Those are Hamites. They come from Ham, or Chum in the Hebrew, which is attributed to, which is why the land is called Ham. The land originally, before it was named Africa, the land of Ham. The land of Ham. Matazarium or Mizraim is where you get Ham, or they are under the umbrella of Hamites. That's Egypt. That's the Egyptians, who are known for being very dark people. Chum or Ham means hot, land of hot. You understand? Africa, you think of hot, anywhere hot geographically, you're going to think of Africa. It's hot as Africa, you see? But now what we're going to do, because we're focusing on the chosen line, the history of the chosen line, let's look at the descendants of Shem, shall we? So let's look at Genesis chapter 11, verse 10. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years and begat sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 530 years and begat Salah. Right, brothers and sisters used to live a lot longer back then. I think Methuselah lived the longest. I think Methuselah lived to like almost 1,000 years old, 900 and I want to say like 960 something, right? Verse 13, and Arphaxad lived and he begat Salah 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber. It's very important. And Salah lived, Eber is where you get the term Hebrew. Eber Eber and his descendants, because Eber, which in the Hebrew is Ibaria, means from the past, right? This is where you get the term Hebrew in the phrase Hebrew Israelite. You see, Eber, and Eber comes from Arphaxad, and Arphaxad comes from Shem, and Shem comes from Noah. But it gets deeper, right? Verse 15, and Salah lived after he begat Eber 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Eber lived 34 years, and begat Peleg. And Eber lived after he begat Peleg 430 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and begat Ru. And Peleg lived after he begat Ru 209 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Ru lived 32 years, and begat Serug. And Ru lived after he begat Serug 207 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years, and begat Nahor. It's like it. Nahor. And Serug lived after he begat Nahor 200 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years, and begat Terah. And Nahor lived after he begat Terah 119 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and begat Abram. You see that? So what? And begat Abram, Nahor, this is another Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begat Lot. You see that? And Haran died before his father, Terah, in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram took Nahor, or it's like it, and Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. Iscah is another form of Jessica as well. So, through the line of Shem, right? Through the line of Shem, you get what? You get Arphaxad, who begat, through Noah, you get Shem. Then you get Arphaxad, down to Eber, down to a man by the name of Terah, down to a man by the name of Abram. These names are very important, and let me show you why. Let me show you why. If you go to Genesis chapter 14, verse 13, remember, Eber is where you get the term Hebrew from. You understand? And Genesis 14 and 13. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew. And told Abram the Hebrew. For he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. You see that? Abram was identified as a Hebrew because the nations knew who was of their nation. You see that? Like knowing your bloodline played a great significance in ancient times. That's why it plays a great significance in here, in the truth, because we seek the ways of old. The Most High told us to consider the old ways. You see that? Abram, the Hebrew. Abram was of the line of Eber. He was of the line of Shem, which would make him, because he's a descendant of Eber, it would make him a Hebrew. You see that? And it will also make him, okay, fake Jews use the term Shemitic. We would just say of the line of Shem. You see? Or they say Semitic. Semitic. There's no one in the Bible named Sim. You see? It's Shem. S-H-E-M. Right? Shem. Now, let's go to Genesis chapter 16. Now that we established that Abram, whose name is later on changed to Abraham, or Abraham, Abram means father exalted. Abraham means father of many nations. You see, which his name was changed, and it signified the Most High's promise to Abraham, formerly known as Abram, right? So I want to take a look at a little bit of history of this man, Abram, and his seed line. Remember, we read in 2nd Ezra 6:54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, right? Of him come we all, and the people whom thou hast chosen. We're getting into the history of that. We came from Noah, either Noah, Shem, Ham, or Japheth. We're looking at the bloodline of Shem. So far, Shem, Arphaxad, Eber, Terah, Abram. Key names. Peleg, right? So let's look at Genesis 16:1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, Sarai, right? Who you know as Sarah as well. Her name is changed to Sarah. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. Right? And Sarai said unto Abram, behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. The land of Canaan, I'll get into that in a little bit, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. You see? So what happened was Sarai was barren. She couldn't give Abram the children that he wanted at the time. So Sarai came up with a plan and said, listen, lay down with my handmaiden, and so that she can give you a son. You understand? And now that woman's name was Hagar. Now I want to take a look at who that child was. So let's look at Genesis chapter 16, verse 15. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. Like when we read Psalms 83, or when we pray Psalms 83 in the Hebrew, we say Yashma'alim or Yashma'ala. That's Ishmael. You see? From Abram, you had Ishmael. Ishmael is of the line of Abram. Ishmael comes from Shem. Ishmael today are your Arabs. You see? Ishmael are your Arabs. Elam comes from Shem as well. Elam are your East Indians. There's a difference between East Indians and Arabs, right? So as you read progressively, you learn that the Lord, he did bless Ishmael with a blessing. The Most High told, I'll raise up 12 princes, whoop-de-whoop, right? But Ishmael was not the chosen. Later on, what happens is the Most High tells Abraham, or Abram, who was going to be known as Abraham, that he will have a son. So let's look at Genesis 17, verse 7, right? Genesis 17 and 7. Let's look at verse 3. Genesis 17 and 3. Damn, I really want to read the whole chapter. Genesis 17 and 3. And Abram fell on his face, and God walked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. The Most High, God Almighty, didn't go to a descendant of Japhet. He didn't go to a descendant of Ham. He went to a descendant of Shem, who is a descendant of Arphaxad, who is a descendant of Eber, who was a descendant of Salah, who was a descendant of Terah, who is Abram. Ultimately, is a descendant of Shem. That's the main name, because that is who the rest of those descendants come from. And Eber, because that's why Abram was called Abram the Hebrew in Genesis 14 and 13. Genesis 17 and 5. Neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. That's a lot. That's a lot to a man who didn't have the best of luck, so to speak, having children. The Most High told him, you will be a father of many nations. So you brothers and sisters out there that want to have children, and it's just not happening at the moment. Abraham and Sarah had the same problem, and Abraham is the father of many nations. You see that? Verse 6. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Indeed, they did, and I'll explain. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee and their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. This is why God is coined as the God of Abraham. You see that? Verse 8. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. And I will be their God. You see that? And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant before thee, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. Right? And that part of that covenant was the fact that the Most High required Abraham's descendants to be circumcised, the foreskin of your flesh to be cut off. You understand? As a token of being a descendant of Abraham and God being your God. You see? Because Abraham would teach his descendants. Now, Abraham did not have, at this point, Ishmael is not favored by the Most High. The Most High is not respecting Ishmael to be the chosen. And a lot of Arabs would try to argue that point, and I'm going to nip that in the bud right now. Because when you go to Genesis 17 and 15, and God said unto Abraham, as for Sarah thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yeah, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto the Most High, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. Uh-oh. I didn't hear Ishmael get the promise. I didn't hear Ishmael. The Most High disregarded Ishmael. Granted, he gave Ishmael a blessing. Them princes of Dubai and them princes of them Arabs, and they living right now. They live in resourceful land masses and everything, right? But they aren't the chosen. You see? So Abraham at this point is told by the Most High he will have a son, and he was instructed to name him Isaac. And the reason why part of the reason why his name is Isaac, Yatazak or Yatazak in the Hebrew, which means laughter, or he laughed, because that's exactly what Abraham did. You see? And it was a part of joy, because at one point Abraham and Sarah could not have children. Abraham could not have children. And having children, especially during those times, was a major thing. You understand? Let me check for any questions before I continue. Shalom, everybody. Shalom. You make sure on Facebook we're good. Hold on. All right. So, where we at? So, who's that? Isaac. So, let's go to Genesis chapter 22. Let's go to Genesis 22. Let's look at verse 16, right? So, boom. What happens is this. Sarah indeed gets pregnant. Remember, the two angels came and visited Abram and told him, I will visit thee. How's it go? According to the time of life, meaning Sarah was going to give birth in 9 months, right? She's going to be pregnant. Sarah was in her tent and she laughed. And the Lord questioned why she laughed. She thought nobody heard her laugh, right? And so what happens is this. Ishmael was cast off with Hagar, the Egyptian, who was of the descendants of Ham. And Isaac is born. Isaac grows, and Isaac is strong before the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? He grows to a certain age. Abraham is building a relationship with his son, who God said that his covenant would be with. And then one day, the Lord tells Abraham, I want you to sacrifice him. I want you to sacrifice Isaac, your only son. And Abraham, without question, was ready to sacrifice Isaac down to, the final blow, so to speak. He carried him all the way to a mountain to sacrifice him, so to speak. And as that blade was coming down, brother, the angel stopped Abraham, because the Most High was pleased with the fact that he was willing to sacrifice his only begotten son. His only son. You see that? And did not hold him back from the Most High. And because of that, Genesis 22 and 16. And he said, by myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, because thou hast done this thing and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son. The Most High did not acknowledge Ishmael as a son of Abraham. Thine only son. Verse 17, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. You see that? Because Abraham was selfless enough and obedient to sacrifice his only son, The Most High said, you will be not only a father of many nations, but all nations gonna be blessed because of your seed. I will bless you, and your seed gonna be as the stars. The Most High is telling this to a man who at one point had problems and difficulty having children. It's a theme with the Most High, the God of the Bible. You understand? The Most High made shepherds kings. The Most High has a way of showing his power and his might. The Most High didn't choose a man that was plenteous in children. He chose someone who was not having children, who doubted if he would ever have a child, who laid with his wife Sarai consistently and had it on the back of his mind, damn, like, is it me? Is it her? Like, why ain't she getting pregnant? To the point where Sarai offered her handmaid, Hagar, the Egyptian. You see that? The Most High shows his power. And there's a theme to it. When you read the Bible, it's like I see what he did there. Right? I see what he did there. Don't believe me? The Most High used one brother in Elijah to confound over 800 false prophets of Baal. He didn't use an equal amount. Where would the Most High be glorified in that? He used one brother. Like I said earlier, he turned shepherds into kings. He turned a runaway, basically someone with a warrant out for his arrest, into a deliverer for Israel, Moses. Hell, that baby was pushed down a stream, and that child grew up to split the Red Sea by the power of the Most High. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't hear me. That's the God we dealing with. That's the God of the Bible. You understand? And Moses was a Levite of the line of Abraham and Isaac, and a name we're going to discuss, right? So from Isaac, of course, you get Jacob and Esau. And of course, the chosen between those two, you read the history in Genesis, the 25th chapter to like the 32nd chapter of Jacob and Esau. Jacob, let me get it right. Jacob, which his name means supplant, to supplant. He supplants Esau out of his birthright, right? The birthright came with being the oldest. Esau is the elder. Remember, the elder shall serve the younger. That was prophesied before they were even born. You understand? Remember Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau? She was having pains during her pregnancy, and she said, "Why am I thus?" And she entreated of the Lord, and the Lord said, "Two manner of people, two nations are in thy womb." Meaning there are two children who are going to come out of you, and they're going to grow older, and they're going to be patriarchs for future nations. You see, Esau being the father or patriarch of Europeans, different Europeans, the Jewish, the Russians, the you're Caucasians. And then you have Jacob, of whom was born the 12 tribes. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. That's where we come from. We come from them. We come from one of the sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. And his name was changed to Israel because he wrestled with an angel. And he wrestled with that angel for that blessing. You see? Now, let's look at Psalms 105. We went through the history of the nations. So there's no reason why anyone at the end of this class should be telling me that God loves everybody. Everybody's chosen. Everybody could be no. God chose Abram, who came from a man by the name of Terah, who came from a man by the name of Eber, who came from a man by the name of Arphaxad, who came from a man by the name of Shem, who was a son of Noah, one of the 8 persons or living souls to live through the flood of the earth. You understand? And by these 3 was the earth wide overspread. That's the truth. And your top scholars, your top historians, they all know this to be fact, which is why they'll go to Mount Ararat in Turkey in search of Noah's Ark. They'll go when they excavate, when your top archaeologists excavate different land masses, they use the Bible, number 1. They use the Bible as their number 1 reference. You understand? And these are facts. These are facts. So I don't give a damn what someone on Instagram is typing on their keyboard. Your top archaeologists, your top eschatologists, your top scientists use the Bible. And that's a fact. You understand? And they know, because there are inscriptions of people who wrote that they were descendants of Shem, who wrote that they were descendants of Ham, who wrote that they were descendants of Japhet or Japhet. And it's inscribed on stones thousands of years old. You understand? Now, we're picking it up at Jacob. Jacob, how the account goes, how the record goes, like the book of Chronicles, Chronicles means records. The Bible is our records. It's a holy Bible, comes from the Greek biblios, which means compositions or collection of records, collection of books. You see? So let's go to Psalms 105 and let's look at it. Psalms Psalms 105. Watch this. Verse 6. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. You see that, right? Remember 2 Ezra 6:54, and of Adam come we all, and you're chosen. You see that? We got right there, Jacob, his chosen. He is the Lord, our power. His judgments are in all the earth. He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, meaning forever, which covenant he made with Abraham, and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying, unto thee will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance. You see that, right? You see how the author of this psalm is David. You see how He knows the history. He basically said everything we just went over so far in a few verses. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And that is who the promises, the covenants, the blessing all fall upon. It was never meant to fall on Esau. How do I know that? Because the Lord told Rebekah, the elder shall serve the younger. You see? They were fighting in that womb. And that was symbolic as well. That had meaning. Let me say that. That had meaning. When Isaac, it's like it when what's his name? Esau, when he was out being a wild man and hunting wildlife, and he was parched and hungry and thirsty, and Jacob took advantage of that and supplanted him out of the birthright. When Esau told him to give him a morsel of red meat, uncooked meat, Jacob took advantage of that, and they made a deal. You understand? They made a deal for that birthright, and then when it came to the blessing from their father Isaac, Rebekah overheard that Isaac instructed Esau to go and gather the ingredients to make his favorite soup, brother. His favorite venison. I want to say soup's like a venison. Favorite dish. You understand? And what happened? Rebekah overheard. And as Esau left to go gather those things, she made a coat for Jacob to wear so he can disguise himself as Esau, because Esau was a hairy man. And Isaac, because he was old, his eyes were dim. He felt for Esau, and he felt a bunch of hair, but it was Jacob disguised as Esau. And Jacob was given the blessing. And Esau came back mad. You understand? And that was supposed to happen. A lot of people that go to theologian school try to, that was wrong. That was supposed to happen. How do I know? Go ahead, Sawat. Exactly. Right? And that's what you got to remember what the Lord told Rebekah. So let's go to Romans. Book after Acts. Follow me to Romans 9. Romans chapter 9, verse we can start at 10. Oh, let's start at 9. See, that's what I'm saying. Romans 9:9. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there any unrighteousness with the Most High? God forbid, meaning no. You see? You see that, right? It wasn't about it wasn't about, Isaac. It was about the Most High. It wasn't about Rebecca. It was about the Most High. And what the Most High wanted, what was destined to happen, what was bound to happen, that Jacob would get the birthright, would get the blessing. You see? And your higher ups know this, man. You're John Doe on the corner of the freeway asking for spare change, Edomites. I don't expect them to know this, but the ones who control what they push on the media, oh yeah, they know this information. They know. The ones who, decree unrighteous decrees, they know who Esau is. They know who Jacob is, more importantly. Right? And they know the history of the birthright and the blessing and who has it, which is why part of the reason why they hate us. You see? Let me check before we continue. Let me check for any questions. Let me check for any questions. All right. All right. All right. So from there, right, let's go to Ecclesiasticus and our Apocryphus. The one that my daughter decided to scrabble all over the cover of. Good night. She gonna buy me another when she get older. Ecclesiasticus 44. Verse 17. And there's a reason why I'm bringing all of this out. If you didn't catch the class from the beginning, I strongly recommend that you watch this class from the beginning. I strongly recommend, for the breakdown's sake. We went into who, you either come from one or three people, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, who were, one of the 8 living souls who survived this flood, and then who comes from Ham, African nations, Eritreans, Igbos, Nigerians, Sudanese, Somalian, they're all African, Egyptians, or the real Egyptians. You understand? Them black, you look at them dark tar Africans, those are the real Egyptians. Canaanites, Libyans, they all come from a man by the name of Ham. Japheth, your Tongans, your Samoans, your Pacific Islanders, your Polynesians come from Japheth. And Shem is where you get Elam, your East Indians. From Shem, also from Arphaxad down to Eber, which is where you get the term Hebrew, because it means Ibaria in the Hebrew, which means from the past. And then you have from Eber, a man by the name of Terah, when you go down the line. And from Terah, you have Abram the Hebrew, Genesis 14:13. And from Abram, you have Isaac. And if you want to be technical, he had Ishmael and Isaac, but then Ishmael was not respected as the son of Abraham. We read that. Remember, the Lord said, Isaac, thine only son. And from Isaac, Jacob and Esau, Jacob acquired the birthright and the blessing, making him the chosen, who the Most High wanted, and it was meant to be so. So now, Ecclesiasticus 44 and 17. Noah was found perfect and righteous in the time of wrath. He was taken in exchange for the world. Therefore was he left as a remnant unto the earth when the flood came. An everlasting covenant was made with him, that all flesh should perish no more by the flood. You see? An everlasting covenant was made with him, that all flesh should perish no more by the flood. Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like unto him, who kept the law of the Most High and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh. Remember, circumcision on the 8th day, not the 9th, not the 7th, on the 8th day. He established the covenant with in his flesh. When he was proved, he was found faithful. When was Abraham proved? When he was willing to sacrifice Isaac, and the Lord stopped him. He was found faithful. Verse 21. Therefore he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from the river unto the uttermost part of the land. With Isaac did he establish likewise for Abraham his father's sake the blessing of all men and the covenant, and made it rest upon the head of Jacob. And he acknowledged him in his blessing, and gave him inheritance, and divided his portions. Among the 12 tribes did he part them. So, oh man, we're reading it. I'm reading to you that God has a chosen line that he respects on the earth. That when you read Acts 3:13, the reason why Peter said the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, the God of our fathers. When you read Exodus 3:15, when he responded to Moses what his name was, he said Yahweh, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because those three men are essential to understanding the history of why the 12 tribes are God's chosen people. Which is why Ezra said in 2nd Ezra 6:54, of Adam come we all, O Lord, of Adam come we all, and even and the people also whom thou hast chosen. And we read in Psalms 106 and Psalms 105 and 6 through 9 that Jacob is his chosen. Literally, it says that. You cannot argue that. The text says what it says. You can't make it say anything else. You see? There's more. Let's believe there's more. Let's look at Ecclesiasticus 17. Watch this. Ecclesiasticus 17:17. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. Remember, the Most High divided the nations during the time of Adam. And he divided the nations during the time when Shem, Ham, and Japheth and their descendants began to repopulate the earth. And note this too. Your top scientists respect the fact that there was a flood. There's too much evidence. They ain't spending millions of dollars on that research for no reason. They ain't spend millions of dollars for Project Noah, looking for Noah's Ark. For no reason. You understand? Ecclesiastes 17:17. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. But Israel is the Lord's portion. Now, who is Israel? Who is Israel? Us, black people, so-called Negroes, descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. descendants of slaves, West Indians, Haitians, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Hondurans, El Salvadorans, Guatemalans, Dominicans, Seminole Indians, Native American Indians, Lakota, Sioux Indians, Cheyenne, Apache, Native Americans. Brazilians, Argentinians, Chileans, Ecuadorians, Israelites. They come from Jacob. They come from Israel, which makes them Israelites. Ites, I-T-E-S, means son of or descendant of. Descendants of Israel. We have a very rich culture. We have a very rich culture. And we have history. We're more than victims of being slaves, oppressed. You know, there's much more to blacks and Hispanics and natives. It's much more to us. We're descendants of the greatest people ever, which would make us what? Would make us the greatest people ever. And we have a God, a living power, the Most High. Listen, scratch everything you learned in the Christian church. Scratch everything you learned in the Christian church. The Christian church is garbage. They teach you garbage. I don't give a damn how you felt coming out on Sunday, how good you felt. They're not teaching the truth. You know why? God loves everybody. To hell with everything we just talked about. To hell with Shem. To hell with Abraham. To hell with the significance of him and Isaac and that transition between Isaac and Esau and Jacob and Rebekah. To hell with all that. God loves everybody. Damn. No. That history is significant and it means something. And if you're a Black, Hispanic, or Native American Indian who contemplates suicide, who gets high, who attempts to drink the pain away, who enjoys, who finds fulfillment in doing drugs because it makes you feel good. You are much more than that. We are much more than that. We are much more than slaves. We're much more than people struggling to get into the border, to cross the border. We are descendants of Israel, which would make Isaac our father, which would make Abraham our father. Didn't Peter say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of our fathers, our patriarchs? You understand? You are more than a wetback. You are more than a Hispanic. You're more than a Native American. You're more than Black or African American. You're more than those things. If you're a man, you are a prince of the power. And you're to conduct yourself as so. Same thing with women. You're a princess. You're a princess. Right? In Ephesians, it talks about you being the daughters of Sarah. You see? And we have a rich culture in history, even down to how we dress, our signets, right? Because even in the chosen line, nah, I'm not gonna go into that. That's a whole nother 2 hours. So what? You know what I mean? I know. But you get the point. So let's look at it some more. Let's go to Joel, the book of Joel. Hold on, bear with me. Joel is the book before Amos, after Hosea. Joel chapter 2, verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, that I am the Lord your power, and none else, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. You see that? Big ups to Abraham, big ups to Isaac, big ups to Jacob, big ups to Shem and Japheth for not mocking their father Noah and his drunkenness. Like Ham, the sexual deviant. You understand? Them Hamites, they sick out. Them Hamites, they do sick things out. You understand? They circumcise their women. That's not our culture. That's not our culture at all. You understand? Let's look at Isaiah. Let me find that real quick. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 41. Verse 8. Isaiah 41 and 8. But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. It's all right there. It's all right there. Isaiah 41 and 8. Isaiah 41 and 8. Let me make sure there's any questions. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Shalom, Lord Christ. Oh, Lord Christ, sir, Sue. Just teaching class. Kind. I'll call you right after, sir. All right. Let me see here. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in. Let me see. Boom, no. All right. All right, continuing on. So, as you see, Jacob is the Lord's chosen. I want to look at Isaiah 41 and 14. Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel. I will help thee, saith the Lord, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. The Holy One of Israel. That's another name for God. Or, yeah, that's another title for God. That's not his name, but it's no one else can take on that name. That title. That's the word I'm looking for. That make sure that's what that word means. Let me see. Yeah, that I don't want to say, it's another word I'm looking for, but regardless, you get the point. You see what I'm saying? We go into the history. So let's look at Amos. Amos chapter 3. Yeah. All right, Amos chapter 3, verse 1. Amos 3:1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. You only have I known of all the families of the earth, all the nations of the earth. Of all the families, all the nations of the earth, God only respects Israel. God only recognizes Israel. All the other nations are not on the Most High's radar, so to speak. They're irrelevant. They have no mercy. They have no promise of mercy. They have no promise of, being the chosen or, none of that. And they have no part in Christ's death and resurrection. You see? Let's go to Deuteronomy. Gotta go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And the Lord, that was Moses telling the children of Israel that they're a special people, they're a holy people, which is why we were given laws to make a clear distinction between us and other nations, so that the nations can look at us and say that we are a great, wise, and understanding people. So much so that they don't sleep with near kin. They don't sleep with, their sisters and mother and father, like the nations surrounding them practiced and do practice to this day. Right? Like, for example, Egyptians, pharaohs, like, they married their sisters. That's a fact. They married near kin, which is why the Most High would make references to Egypt. You should not do after the doings of the Egyptians, not to get tattoos all over our flesh. That these things come, like being God's chosen people, it's great. It's great. It's great knowing that, right? But it comes with great responsibility. It's very meaningful. You have a purpose. Your purpose is to serve the Most High. For example, being God's chosen people, you can't be God's chosen people getting tattoos. It's wrong. Give a damn what you feel about it. It's wrong. Because the Lord said it's wrong. You go ahead and do it. You go ahead and do it. Do it if you want to. Do what you want to do. You understand? Like Commander Junior Hanna always say, man, you can't force the truth on nobody. It's not my job to force the truth on anyone. It is my job to teach it. And the truth is, getting tattoos is wrong. In Leviticus 19 and 28, it says not to get any marks printed on you, nor any marks for the dead. People like to be slick and say, oh, but what if it ain't for the dead? No, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. See? Eating swine's flesh, pork, eating shrimp, crab, lobster. Wrong. It's wrong. If you want to wonder why we're number one in high blood pressure, number one in heart disease, and number one in gout, well, we suffering and dying because of our diets as Black people and as Hispanics and as Native Americans, is because we're not keeping God's laws. There's a reason why Chinese people can eat live frog soup, octopus, candy, damn, whatever. They eat whatever. They have, you know, they have they'll cut off the block and there'll be a block. And you know, blocks in China is like a damn city. And they selling, you know, they having dog meat festivals. You got Rottweiler, you got Chihuahua, you get Labrador. You know what I mean? Like, we eat lamb chops, they eat lab chops, the Labrador chops. They eat dog. Dog. But let me tell you something. You eating pork is just as bad as you eating dog. You understand? It both are sin. But Chinese people could eat that and live to 115. You won't make it to 40 because you eat chitlins every goddamn Sunday. And it is the Most High's judgment when you die because of health problems. We shouldn't be dying of high blood pressure. Maybe if we stop eating crab, things will change. You got to stop glorifying the things that are abomination in the sight of the Most High. Maybe if we stop smoking cigarettes, we will stop, you know, that'll decrease our chances of getting lung cancer. You see? Just maybe. Right? Sleeping with other men's wives. We glorify that in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. And it's garbage. It's garbage. Stealing, garbage. Lying, garbage. All those things are weak. It's not us. It's not our culture. Abraham didn't conduct himself as such. Neither did Isaac. Neither did Jacob. Neither did Joseph. Ooh, Joseph. Remember, Joseph was a prisoner in Egypt. And he worked his way up and he was respected by the Pharaoh of the time. And the Pharaohs, I don't want to say the Pharaohs, but maybe who was over one of Pharaoh's top men who was over Joseph, his wife was pressing upon Joseph to have sex with her, and Joseph maintained his integrity and did not do so. And because he didn't sleep with her, because she slept with other men's wives or with other men outside of, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't her first time trying to sleep with someone else other than her man, because she was a heathen. That's what they do. Heathen things. But Joseph was not a heathen. Joseph was a man of the Lord. He was an Israelite. And Joseph is the father of Ephraim and Manasseh. And, when you go back and read them accounts, you know what this means. Joseph maintained his integrity. He didn't sleep with that man's woman. and she lied on him and accused him of rape or you know, accused him of what she was really doing, and he went to jail. You see? There's no reward in doing evil. Like Abraham, there's reward in doing right. You see what I'm saying? And that's the example. We should take on the example of the men we come from, the men we descend from. Even in the genealogy of Jesus Christ, Yahushua Hamashiach, the Matthew, the first chapter, it gives you his genealogy. The book of the Matthew 1:1, the book of the generations of Jesus Christ, the son of Abraham, the son of David. Because he come from that royal bloodline, that pedigree. You understand? And that's important. It's extremely important. So if you didn't get a chance to catch this class completely, I strongly recommend you go back to the top of the class and you watch it after it's posted online. It normally take a few hours. I want to say the water to everybody that tuned in. I also, I've been working on a video. It's going to be a 3-part series proving who comes from Shem, who Elam is. We're going to prove who Japhet is. We're going to show that why they're the Samoans and the Tongans and the Polynesians. We're going to show why Ham is the Africans. We're going to show, you get the point. You understand? So I'm going to say, stay on the lookout for that one. And I'm going to say, Shalom, Yahbashim Shabbat Katam, Yahshua Tabashim Yahshai. Shalom.